The University of the West Indies is a premier tertiary institution in the Caribbean. Within the Department of Physics, we have the Climate Studies Group, MONO. This is a research group that has been pioneering climate change and climate variability research in the region and for the region for well over 30 years. Part of our mandate is to ensure that we can provide the latest science and information about climate change. One of the key gaps that we have identified in the work that we've been doing is information gap, particularly for our children. Coming out of that recognition of a clear gap, we devised a project to address that issue. This project is termed Resilience Building to Global Climate Change through Youth Education in Primary Schools.
The truth is, as a country, we know the seasonality of climate. We know when it's hottest in July or August, and we know when we should get rain. We have two rainy seasons, one peaking in June and one in September, October. And what we end up doing is patterning our lives around this. So we plant around this, and we clean drains around this, and we send kids to school around this, and we have sports around this. That then makes climate a part of our everyday life. Add to that the sectors we make development out of, agriculture, tourism, all have this great sensitivity to climate. And even if they didn't, our water sector does. Put that together and we have this immense sensitivity to climate. Climate is a part of who we are. The challenge of climate is to move us from a sensitivity to resilience. That's the task we all have in front of us. But we know exactly how to do that. It's through action. That then leads us to our products. These products are nothing more than tangible action items that help to move us from sensitivity to resilience. But the truth is, when we are going to act, we have to act in particular ways. One, our action has to be appropriate. What do I mean? We need climate action that is appropriate for our situation or the situation it is being called to serve. So we don't just need any action, but we need action that meets a need. The disabled community is one of the most vulnerable communities to climate, and yet the information we produce was not necessarily being produced for them. Under this project, we are launching the State of the Climate, the Braille edition. We're also launching the Caribbean Science Volume 1, the Braille version, making information targeted and available to those who need it in the format that they need it. But we're also launching the State of the Caribbean Climate, the audio and visual versions. So we're taking the information and we're putting it out there. And these are specially formatted, as you can see from the diagrams, for the disabled community. So the audio versions and the visual versions are all complete with sign language. They're available on the YouTube and available on thumb drives for distribution. Why these products? Because they are meeting the characteristic of appropriate action, action that meets the need, our need. You can't tell me that you know what a normal rainy season is anymore. And so we can't approach climate change in a business as usual way. What we need is action that is creative and well suited for our context. Yes, we are launching a number of products. But with these products, we are launching what we call the immersive climate learning model. What on earth do I mean? Under this project, we had 6 primary school partners who were brave enough to say, we will work with you to pilot these products. Under this project, all of these schools have received most or all of the following: an eco-friendly gazebo and or portable tent with outdoor seating powered by a fixed or portable solar energy-based solution. So where the terrain was suitable for a portable solution so that you can take the learning outside, that was provided. In other contexts, it was a fixed solution with a fixed solar panel. And I want to draw your attention to that little suitcase-looking device there. It's a portable renewable energy solution powered by solar panels, which you can carry where you go, carry with you to the lesson. Plug in your laptop or your phone or whatever device you want to use to teach. They also received starter gardens with endemic plants and trees. And the plants chosen for each school were dependent on the particular climate. And a manual describing the endemic plants and, of course, how to care for them. And 2 of the schools have also received automatic weather stations. They therefore joined Jamaica in its quest to develop resilience through capturing information. So thanks to the Meteorological Service of Jamaica, they form part of their network. And also thanks to a collaboration with the University of the West Indies, each school will eventually get an app where as they teach the lesson, they can show what the weather is outside their location. We need solutions for climate that go outside the box and that are creative. Where best to target transformation than by targeting education of children? And so today, you have heard a lot about it. We launched the Climate Change Teaching Resources. We launched the textbook, Let's Make a Difference, a climate primer for climate change. And this textbook is for primary schools, and believe it or not, it's one of the first of its kind, written out of the Jamaican context for Jamaican children. We close the loop. It's based on the State of the Jamaica Climate Report, so it pulls on the latest data from Jamaica. As you have heard, it has interactive lessons, plans, and activities, and it's available in both e-version and hard copy. So we not only produce the material that will last, but we also train the teachers. For each of our schools, we are going in and doing training, but we're also developing the training video so that any school, anywhere in Jamaica, can use the facilities. And then, not just the textbook, but we're beginning the production of supportive things. So we already have produced 4 4-minute animations based on 4 chapters from the textbook. Why these products? Because we need action that's transformative. And education is a route to transformation. So why these products? Because they represent the collaborative model. How did these products come about? Because it was the major funding agencies listed at the top. It was the partnership with government, the PIOJ, the Ministry of Education, the Met Service of Jamaica. It was the private sector, the NCB Foundation, Incrementic, Miramora, it's Redis Jamaica who provided the innovative solar solutions. And then let me just give a last plug for the University of the West Indies. The University of the West Indies has the ability to pull together the interdisciplinary teams that you need to attack the problems. This project has the collaboration of, yes, the Climate Studies Group, MONA, but the School of Education, the Department of Life Sciences that provided the plans and the manuals and went into the schools and decided what plant needs to go where, and the Center for Disability Studies that provided the knowledge about how to approach climate information for the disabled community. Why these products? Because they demonstrate the collaborative model, which is how we will have to tackle climate change in Jamaica. Why these products? Simple, because they move us from sensitivity to resilience via action. What kind of action? They represent action that's appropriate, creative, transformative, and action that shows the way. Or simply put, action that acts.
Children are amongst those who will be most vulnerable to climate change impacts in the future. And so it was a no-brainer when the Climate Studies Group, Mona Campus, approached the School of Education about creating this knowledge product, a textbook. We did not hesitate in responding. So Let's Make a Difference, a carbon primer on climate change, was born. It is the outcome of many months of researching, here we have included the latest data, writing, reviewing, editing, by a group of dedicated climate scientists, science and environmental educators, and an education for sustainable development specialist. This collaboration models the interdisciplinary approach recommended for dealing with complex issues such as climate change. This partnership between the two faculties, as well as our external collaborators, is in line with the UA's alignment mandate of addressing critical issues within our region and the wider world. We began the process by reviewing the Jamaican National Standards curriculum for grades 4 to 6, because we wanted to ensure that the text could align with the curriculum and supplement the content. Now, I know that science is near and dear to the hearts of many of us gathered here today. However, its concepts, although we love it dearly, are often difficult to grasp and understand, particularly by children. And so we had to find a balance of how to present hard facts of science in a manner that sparks interest and curiosity of the students across the range of the grades that we were looking at. And at the same time, we wanted the book to be usable by our teachers. Additionally, because climate change education calls for a multi or an interdisciplinary approach, we tried to link the content among the different subject areas outside of science and social studies. And so, the first of the 5 units, we started pretty basic. We drew the readers into basic science concepts, living things, things around you. And we did that in a style that allows for the children to make connections while they're reading with the world around them. And then we dive into the science of climate change. We couldn't skirt around it. We had to deal with it. So we started with a discussion on weather and climate. We introduced a range of climate-related phenomena such as drought and storms and hurricanes. And we also clarify concepts such as global warming, greenhouse effect. If you agree with me, these are confusing concepts even for us adults. In units 3 and 4, we locate climate change within our region by describing historical trends to show how variables such as temperature, rainfall, hurricanes, and sea levels have changed, and paint a vivid picture of possible future impacts on things like water resources, agriculture, human settlements, infrastructure, tourism, and health, if these changes continue at the same rate. The book ends in Unit 5 with numerous suggestions on strategies required to make good decisions to lessen climate change impacts at various levels across various sectors, and also focuses on individual level actions to enhance students' agency. In teaching about climate change, the literature suggests moving away from the traditional lecture method, which most of us in here have been used to using strategies that create conditions for children to think about relationships that they encounter in everyday life. This requires an interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary approach and a focus on active learning. Therefore, we included various features in the text for students to engage with, making it interesting and fun and interactive. Some of these features include, did you know, where facts in relation to different factors of climate change are presented, note carefully, which highlights points that they need to pay attention to, can I help, where we promote individual action and collective action, career link, and a range of activities, both individual and group, that take multiple forms from research, crossword puzzles, viewing videos, listening to songs, and more. Don't you just wish you had a book like this when you were going to primary school? It is my pleasure on behalf of my co-writers Therese Ferguson, Miguel Eisen, the Climate Studies Group Mona, the artist, graphic designer, the retired educator, and the media consultant who provided editorial inputs to present this book to you. Let us treasure it and use it fully and wisely.
Climate change is still the most critical global threat, and as a region, especially a small island developing states, we're acutely aware of the importance of climate change, adaptation, mitigation, and that we need to know more about it. Today's launch of this publication is timely. Why? Because with all that's happening in terms of sea level rise, in terms of changing in rainfall pattern, and where we've decided to build and not, it is important that we know. But do we know, and are we at the stage? Is it not then pertinent for us to reach back to the next generation? We must teach our children about climate change. It must be second nature to them. They must not learn it in a classroom only. They must learn it in every aspect of their lives. We must learn about conserving biodiversity, about endemic plants, and all that is changing within our country. Primary level students is an excellent population in which we want to engage. Looking at the book, it is clear that the modules are going to make a difference. The modules have such little gems that take away and allow students to go and self-learn. It also gives the teachers an opportunity to prepare and present. Our future depends on it. As Dr. Bramwell Layla said, young persons are more likely to have to live with long-term effects of a changing world than us who are been here a while. The products are therefore tools which will equip them and equip us with decision-making, with future impact in mind, and with present actions. We need to make changes, and we need to educate those who are going to make the changes. The University of the West Indies is therefore very proud to have colleagues who have put their mind to effort to work. Knowing them personally, I know that they are passionate about climate change, about education, and about transferring information. What better place to start than cultivating in young minds the differences and the knowledge that they will need to make the better decisions. I am waiting for someone who has read the book to become the next Minister of Environment so that we can have continued efforts in the changes that we wish. The extent of the impact of climate change is in our hands. What we do with it depends on how we educate. These products are just a few of the many ways that we can bolster our capacity to deal effectively with climate change.
I'm especially delighted that among the products being launched today is the first of its kind text for primary and secondary teachers and students entitled Let's Make a Difference, a Caribbean primer or primer, depending on how you want to pronounce it, on climate change. This is an important addition to the material available for our teachers and students on the subject. Throughout the region, many of our children have been exposed to the effects of the changing climate, from beach erosion to disappearing hillsides, more frequent floodings, higher temperatures, damaged coral reefs, and no doubt they would have heard adults talking about reduced fish catch when compared to years ago. This primer helps them to move from awareness to taking practical, individual, and collective steps that will reduce the effects of the problem. Even as we make good use of this book, we must continue to keep our sights on the longer-term challenge of climate change and environmental sustainability. We don't just want to avoid depriving future generations of the resources due to them. In every generation, we want to leave behind a better and cleaner environment than what currently exists. So I want to express my appreciation to the UWI School of Education, the Global Environmental Facilities Small Grants Program, the Planning Institute of Jamaica, and the National Commercial Bank for the collaboration on this project. And I know that it's going to be sustained in our schools because you've included the very important component of teacher training in this. And I know that our teachers, they are collaborative. They get together in their quality education circles. They get together in their various groups, and they're going to share what they're doing in their classrooms, in their schools, among our teachers. And I am sure next year when you come back, Professor Taylor, there will be maybe hundreds of projects in our schools with a focus on climate change. And that is what we want to see. That tells us, that will tell us that our students are learning, they're understanding, but more important, they want to be a part of this change. They want to contribute. So thank you again. You have helped to develop the kind of accessible knowledge products that will add to our eventual goal of leaving behind a more sustainable Caribbean for future generations. Not only will we not deprive them of their share of the resources, we will be leaving them with even more than what we have inherited from our forefathers. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Let's now go into the field to look at the installation process of the different items that will be installed at the schools, and also have a word with the principals to hear from their own perspective what the project means to them.
The area in which we live, it's a farming area, and even before I came, there was always issue with water, and they have long dry seasons and so on. It will help not only students and teachers, but community members as well, because we are a community school, so whatever we do, we involve members of the community. And when they understand about climate change and how they can take care of the environment and so on, it will make them better persons, and even so how well they conserve and so on the environment. So I really welcome a project like this at this school. I really look forward, and I can't wait for the installation or the implementation of this project.
Oh, wonderful. That's like music to our ears.
Yes.
Number one, you're going to get an enclosure. The enclosure doesn't come cheap. It's $700,000, but thankfully somebody has sponsored that. So you get in, and why that is important, Mr. Lynch will tell you. So Lynch, what's the importance of the enclosure? You probably can tell us.
Well, the importance of the enclosure is to manage access to the station. So you would want to prevent animals from interfering with the equipment, and also persons. Persons are naturally curious, and they might want to go and touch and interfere. And once you start to interfere with the station, then you might cause it not to operate properly, and then give you incorrect values, or just stop operating altogether.
Wherever you're going to install the station has a wireless range of about 1,000 feet, I think. So for example, if the console is going to be in your office, meaning the screen is going to be in your office, you want to make sure that wherever the station is, between that and your office is 1,000 feet or less.
In terms of the location, the best fit, which would take into consideration proper soil coverage, proper clearance from your environmental objects like trees and plants and buildings, would be just in front of that tank there. Right? When you install the anemometer, it will be above all of these obstructions here, so they would not play a part in influencing the wind as it passes over that sensor. From my readings, the tank is 19 meters from my current location. That is sufficient distance to allow for the air to mix properly around the automatic weather station. That would give you a true representation of what the temperature is for the immediate environment. For the recording of rainfall, this area is perfect. There are no overhanging trees, buildings, or other objects that would channel water into the rain gauge. As a result of that, this area is perfect for the reading or the taking of readings for rainfall. This unit here, this section here, is what we call our ISS unit. If you look on the inside, you will see where all the sensors make their various connections. We have our UV, sun, rainfall, wind and temperature and humidity sensors making their connection as labeled there. The entire unit is powered by a 3.25 lithium battery recharged by the small solar panel that is on the cover that covers and protects the entire unit. This antenna is used to send the values that are recorded here to our console that stores and display our various temperature and other weather values. This is our rainfall collector. So this funnel here collects all the rainfall as it comes down. The spikes are what they call bird spikes to prevent small birds from landing on the edge of the rainfall collector and depositing seeds and other things inside the collector to block it up. When the rainfall enters through the top, there is a measuring cup at the bottom that measures the amount of rainfall that enters the rain gauge. This is the internal portion of our rainfall collector. This is our tipping cup. Now when the rainfall enters the top of the rain gauge, it collects in this cup. When the weight of the water in the cup is greater than the weight that counterbalances the cup tips over. When the cup tips, the brain of the automatic weather station record it as one incremental reading for the rainfall. This particular rain gauge is set to measure in inches. So when the cup tips, it is 0.1 inch of rainfall. And if it tips more than one time, all of that value is added together to give you the rainfall total for the hour and for the day. UV sensor has the sensor placed at the top of the unit. Right? As the sunlight hits the sensor, it records the total amount of UV radiation that is present at that particular point in time. Similarly, with your solar sensor, when the sunlight hits the sensor at the top, it records the value of the sunlight that is present or that hits the sensor at the particular point in time at the station. At the top of our 10-meter tower, it is the anemometer. It measures the direction that the wind speed is blowing from and the wind speed.
This is the device that we'll be installing. It's a solar generator. Essentially, it's an all-in-one solar system. So everything is built within this one unit outside of the panel. So you have the panels and then you have the unit. Inside of the unit, we have a small battery bank. We also have a charge controller and an inverter as well to flip the power from DC to AC. It's a turnkey solution. So you literally just turn on the power button. There's a power button at the side. Flip the power button, turn on the screen, and we are ready to go. So we have 5-volt DC ports, so you can charge your cell phones, your tablets, whatever uses a USB port. We also have some 12-volt DC outputs, so if you have some 12-volt DC lights, you can plug in here and have lights as well. And then on this side now, we have our 110-volt AC outlet. So these would power all your regular electrical appliances in your house, whether it's a laptop, whether it's a light, whatever it is. Again, this can be charged from 2 sources. So you can use the solar panels attached here and charge the battery that's inside, or you can actually plug in using your regular AC adapter. It's very easy in terms of operation and maintenance. You can just remove the back and it actually shows the internal workings of the device. So we have our battery bank down here, we have our transformer, we have our breakers for safety and protection, charge controller and inverter at the top. So in the event that there's a problem with the unit, operation and maintenance is quite easy and servicing.
We are elated, we are so happy that we have the opportunity of hosting a weather station in our community. So far, we have used it in our science lessons. We have also made the invitation to other schools to visit our school for a field trip to see what we have here, the automatic weather station. So we are really happy to have such a station in our institution. Solar power generator is also a blessing to us. We have been using it on numerous occasions. We have charged our devices, we have used it when we had power outage, and it came in just handy. So we are really making use of such device in our institution. On behalf of the Mount Airy Primary and Infant School, I wish to say a big thank you to the donors who donated all these devices and equipment to us here at Mount Airy. We are indeed grateful. Thank you for remembering us here in deep rural Clarendon. Mount Airy again says a big thank you.
Today we are at Richmond Park Primary in the hills of Clarendon. In my looking around to see the best possible location, this area is away from foot traffic that would be associated with track and field and football. It's away from the main football area, so it minimizes the opportunity for disturbance from sporting activities or any other sort of activity that's taking place on the field. To accommodate this location, there's one major thing that has to be done, and that is this tree here would have to be trimmed back significantly on this side, which is this front side here, and towards the top. That would give the station enough clearing to minimize or to eliminate shading from the tree, and also from blocking the wind sensor from collecting your wind information. When the station is installed, it's not installed and forgotten. There are maintenance processes that has to take place. So on a regular basis, most likely on a monthly basis, you'll have members from the meteorological service would come, check the station and make sure that it is operating properly. Also, in addition to that, if the school is desirous of having, say, a career day, or they need someone from the Met Service to come and talk to the students and teachers, explain to them the elements of weather, talk to them about how does weather factor into our daily life, right? That can be done.
Since the installation of the weather station, students have shown a lot of interest in learning about weather, especially the grade 4 students, seeing that it is part of their curriculum. Recently, a group of them came to me for a tour of the facility, right? And they could identify with some of the gadgets on it, like the rain gauge, the barometer, you name it. And in terms of the instrument on the inside that collects the data, they could identify with the reading. And I also referred some of them to the online data that they could tap into to know about the weather for this particular area. So in general, students are curious about learning more about the weather and also about climate. As a person who does a little farming, I also use it to collect weather data to make decisions as to when to plant in terms of the moon, because when you look on the system inside, you can see whether it is full moon, whether it is, what do you call it now, the moon is receding, so we use that information to know when to do like some underground planting. So it is helping in my personal farming. In terms of the solar energy system, to date, it is being used efficiently because we have experienced quite a number of power cuts. And during power cut periods, that's what we use as administrators to get like the computers charged and working. Also to get the internet, working during that period of time so that the students can have, Wi-Fi connectivity. And there are times when we take it outside to do like outside classes where students can use it to charge their laptops, their phones, the teachers can also use it. So it has been a beneficial tool to us so far. And we wouldn't mind having a bigger system that could generate something like 1,000 watts, which could operate one of the large printers.
This is amazing. I believe in partnership. Yeah, man, I believe in collaboration. I believe that it's a good opportunity for students to get access to this project and what it has to offer, our staff as well. And it's a good launching pad for the students to understand, as you said, rightly said, where the world is going with respect to climate change. And so I think from this project we can garner a better understanding, of climate change, how we can help to manage, as a school, how we can partner with other stakeholders to ensure that at the end of the day, our students, are in a better position, better place to help to preserve the environment and so on. So we're definitely excited about the project. We're excited about the partnership. And of course, we'll get an opportunity too for the students to project where they want to go in the future in terms of university and so on. So it's a good way to bridge and spark their interest.
Well, the project from the University of the West Indies is very helpful to us in that it will help us to cater to the needs of our students who are at Franklin Town Primary. It will also help as we look at climate change and sustainable development, that when our students understand what climate change is and what they can do to either reduce or stop carbon emission, then I think it will also help in our national development. At Franklin Town, we try to develop all our children holistically, and if it is that the University of the West Indies is coming on board with resources to help us, definitely we will use those resources for the development of our school and our school community, because Franklin Town community is very near and dear to us as a school, and we are very grateful that the University of the West Indies chose Franklin Town as one of the schools for this development.
We're doing the section of it, it's called finishing. We are already erected, as you can see. We already put on the waterproofing, which is the membrane. But what we're doing now is just painting up and fine-tuning so that it can be look more, presentable. Technical part of the work has completed, whereas to deal with excavations, get the gazebo squared, get it to require heights, get it balanced, get it level, get it in the position that where the sun rises and the sun sets, it will always capture the sun. We are now in the finishing product, right? Whereas we are sealing all the joints, right? Whereas the rafter meet the ceiling and the lock-in. So we are sealing all of them so that it can look like one place, not two. Right? Won't show any split in between. We have ensured that we install hurricane shutter strap. So should there be an hurricane, the roof will not go, the roof will remain. Everything that we do, we have not assembled this using any form of nail, because during the process of any minor storm or hurricane it may want to pull the nail apart and destroy the gazebo. So we have guaranteed that it will not happen in this case, because we have used screws, nuts and bolts right through to hold it rigid. We have also planted legs into concrete mix, 1, 2, 3 mixture, so it is even more firmer in the earth, so it won't be able and we also peg the legs, whereas it not be easily to pull from the earth.
We're very grateful for the opportunity that we've been presented to assist in this way. We know that this project is a very important project for 7 schools across the island, and we take pride in doing some quality work in this giving back process. So we'd just like to take the opportunity also to thank the University of the West Indies, and also to thank the sponsors, Global Environmental Facilities Small Grant Program and the PIOG as well. So for our role primarily in this project is to provide power, remote, standalone power for this gazebo. So it's meant to be a nice, relaxed location, somewhere where students, teachers, and family members as well from the different participants in the facility would come and relax. If they might have some outdoor meetings, outdoor classes as well, they can host within this little small space. So our role here is essentially to provide solar power for a plug. So we'll give them a plug that would provide power for all their small appliances, small laptops, their tablets, charging station, that kind of stuff. We'll give them a nice little light as well. We'll be installing a racking system on the roof to host the panels. Then we'll have the panels clamped down with hurricane straps, more or less, hurricane-proof clamps. And then we'll run the wires through the ceiling of the gazebo to the solar generator, and a plug system will then come from the solar generator somewhere high where there's not too much weather. And of course we'll have a nice little light as well to provide sufficient lighting at nights. So we have the racking in place now, 2 sides. So we're about to lay the panel on top of that racking and clamp it down using what we call end clamps. These end clamps are weatherproof clamps, and they're rated up to, I think, category 3 hurricanes. So you know we're fully protected on this building here. Alright, so what we're doing here now, we're about to attach the panel to the roof and secure it properly against high force winds. But let's look at the connections a little bit. So if you look at the back of the panel, so we have a junction box there. This is pretty standard for all solar panels. A junction box, there's a negative and a positive connection, and both connections have at the end of them weatherproof connectors. They're called MC4 connectors, but they're weatherproof connectors. Of course, this is an outdoor product, so all the attachments must also be weatherproof. So it's a junction box, weatherproof connectors, positive terminal, negative terminal. Both these terminals connect to the solar generator downstairs to charge the batteries through the charge controller, and then the inverter flips that power from DC to AC and sends it to the plug so that the principal, the students at the school can use the facility. Alright, so what we're looking at here are the connections that come from the solar panel that's on the roof of the gazebo. We have our MC4 weatherproof connectors here. We have our positive and negative terminals. We'll be installing a box in the ceiling here that will take these wires, and the solar generator will sit in this box in a secured location, secured box. So it will be properly sealed and properly secured. And then from this box now we will have conduit, electrical conduit running out to provide lighting and power to the gazebo. So we're about to construct the box to host the solar generator, and then from there we would have the electrical conduits with the light and power supply to the gazebo.
About climate change? Me? Yes? Anybody else? Anybody else interested in learning about climate change? Yes?
I know.
Yes? Tell me what you know. What's your name? What's your name?
Nathaniel Gibson.
Nathaniel? Yes?
Climate change is talking about the weather.
What? Can I give him a clap? learn about the weather. What's the weather? Do you know?
The weather is sunny.
It's sunny today? What about when it's raining?
I like the way you can curl in your bed. You can curl with your feet and in your bed.
So you like when it's raining because you can stay in your bed?
What if we could teach you about climate through cartoons? Would you like that?
Yeah.
Cartoons work, but then you still have to use the book. So we use books.
Okay.
In the class, we really use books.
You have a better understanding first when you use the cartoon.
Okay, so we should try using the cartoon series or the animation series and then move on to the textbook.
Temperature has been increasing. What's the first one? Temperature has been increasing. Alright, so we've seen a marked increase in temperature, especially since 1880. Second thing is we have seen an increase in the heat of the oceans. What's the second one? Increase in the what? Heat of it. What was the first one? Marked temperature increase. What's the second one? Decrease in what? Ocean heat. Alright. The third one now is that we have actually seen a decrease in ice and snow cover. We have seen a what? Decrease in what? Ice and snow cover. Let me see who's bad now. What was the first one? Temperature. What was the second one? Don't look on your nose. 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 Alright, here's number 4. Here's number 4. Sea levels have been what? Rising. What's number 1? What's number 4? Not sea levels, not number 4. Number 4 is sea levels is rising. Alright, so when you boil water, what's the water? When you boil water, does it shrink or does it expand? It expands. So here's the problem with sea level. We're getting more ice melting, so more water entering into the ocean, and the water is warming, so it is also expanding. So you're getting expansion this way and this way.
Question 2. Dash is the average weather condition over a long period of time.
Yeah.
Is it A, weather? Is it B, volcano? Is it C, climate? Is it D, water? Circle the correct answer. Make sure you're getting them right, you know. We're getting them correct? Yes. All right. Question 3. Temperatures in Jamaica and the Caribbean have been A, decreasing, B, remaining the same, C, increasing, or D, 0. Question 4. Dash is distinct changes in measures of climate lasting for a long period of time. Is it A, climate change? Is it B, hard work? Is it C, summer holiday? Is it D, warm weather?
Alright, so let me see who was really watching now. Watch this now. Body ready? Yes? What is it for temperature? Getting higher or lower? Good. What's it about rainfall? Sure. No significant trend. Yes, yes, yes. Because remember we said sometimes it get high and sometimes it get what? Lower. What about sea level rise? What we said about sea level? Yes! Getting higher. What about hurricane? Getting higher. What about sunshine hours? Getting higher. What about wind speed? Getting higher. What about relative humidity? No significant trend. Very good. Excellent. Without putting it on the screen, what was the first thing I said that you should remember? People are doing what? Changing our climate. What's the second one? Alright, so remember, first one was human activities changing our climate. Number 2 was that we have already seen what? Changes in our climate. Very good. Alright. So we're going to move on to the third thing now. The third thing I want you to remember now is that the change will what? The change is going to continue. Oh, my friend is talking now. Good.
Global temperatures have been what? Have been what? Increasing. Haven't we been getting hotter?
Yes.
So increase. B. So the answer is B. If the person got B, give them a tick. True or false? The greenhouse effect is a bad thing. False. Everybody should be telling me false. Who got that wrong? Who got that wrong? You got that wrong? The greenhouse effect is a good thing.
You got that wrong.
All of the above. Which of these sectors will be adversely affected by climate change? Question 8. All of them. Remember, we said we're going to have to change how we do agriculture. We're going to have to work in the greenhouse. We're going to have to change the type of tourism that we do. Remember that? All right, actions that can be done to address climate change are, this is question 9. What's the answer for question 9? All 3. We need to adapt. We need to mitigate. We need to educate. So the answer for 9 is D. The answer for 9 is D.
So of these 7 schools, what can we say we delivered to them? For 4 of the schools, namely St. Peter Claver Primary and Infant, Richmond Park Primary, Mount Airy Primary, and Franklin Town, we delivered to them portable tents, a renewable energy solution along with solar panels. We also had textbooks from the climate change textbook that was actually delivered to them, and importantly, training in climate change and biodiversity. And those schools benefited significantly from the knowledge exchange that we had. For the other 3 schools, the Randolph Lopez School of Hope, Constant Spring Primary, and Harborview, we provided an eco-friendly gazebo as an outdoor space, and the other items, a renewable energy solution, solar panels, plants for the reading garden, textbooks and other memorabilia, and training. And the schools have expressed their delight with what we've been able to provide to them and for them. We had plants of endemic nature that were actually planted at the schools to give a nice green space or a garden. The establishment, care and maintenance of the gardens in these 7 schools is of paramount importance for continued biodiversity conservation. And so one of the things that we have done was to ensure that each school was the recipient of $16,000, which we gave enclosing these envelopes to the principals to engage their environmental clubs and in some cases their 4-H clubs to continue the care of the gardens. They were very, very appreciative of the gesture, and we are grateful to the donors, the Global Environment Facility Small Grants Program, for the provision of funds to accommodate this. Thank you, GEF.